He walks the couch like it's his stage. Great eyes glowing, such a face.
Desde la Universidad Militar Nueva Granada, en Bogotá, Colombia, transmite UMNG Radio. UMNG Radio. Una emisora alternativa, cultural e independiente. Desde la Universidad Militar Nueva Granada. Esta es UMNG Radio.
Lo que ocurre en la universidad, los acontecimientos y sus protagonistas están en UMNG Radio.
Tune in and speak up. Hello, English learners. Want to learn something interesting whilst having fun? Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast where you'll get to know this beautiful language in depth. Each week, we'll dive into exciting topics, share practical tips, and tell you fascinating English language stories. So whether you're studying, going to work, or just relaxing, connect, listen, and let's make English part of your world. Wherever you are, whenever you want, just hit play, tune in and listen up. Tune in to UMNG Radio every Tuesday from 11 a.m. till noon. Don't just learn English, live it.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast from Universidad Militar Nueva Granada, where we explore curious stories, surprising facts, and cultural insights from around the world, all through the lens of English learning. This is the podcast where unusual moments from history and culture become your classroom for practicing English. I'm Jorge Bermúdez, teacher of English at the Department of Multicultural Studies at UMNG, part of the School of Education and Humanities. I'll be your guide through some of the most unexpected and thought-provoking topics, from forgotten inventions and everyday objects to strange ideas that quietly changed the way we live. Whether you're learning English as a second language or simply enjoy discovering how culture and history shape our daily lives, this podcast is for you. So if you're ready to improve your listening skills, expand your vocabulary, and explore the hidden stories behind ordinary things, grab your headphones, tune in, and let's speak up. Today, in our 10th episode of the third season, the history of perfume. The invisible history we carry. There are many things in history that we can see: buildings, tools, machines, and roads. But there is one element that has followed humans for thousands of years that leaves no visible trace: scent. Perfume is invisible yet powerful. It cannot be photographed or preserved in museums in the same way as objects. But it has always shaped how humans experience the world, how they relate to others, and how they remember moments from their lives. Long before perfume became a luxury product sold in elegant bottles, it was part of ritual and belief. Ancient civilizations burned scented woods, resins, and oils to communicate with gods, protect the dead, and purify spaces. In these early moments, fragrance was not about pleasure, it was about meaning. As societies grew more complex, scent became linked to status and power. Who smelled pleasant, who could afford rare ingredients, and who had access to perfumes said a great deal about social position. Smell became a language, one that could express authority, wealth, and identity without a single word. Over time, perfume also became personal. Scents began to travel with individuals, attaching themselves to memories, emotions, and relationships. A single aroma could remind someone of a place, a person, or a moment long after it had passed. In this way, perfume entered not just public life, but private inner worlds. Today, we often think of perfume as fashion or luxury, but behind every bottle there is a long history of religion, science, trade, and desire. From ancient temples to modern cities, fragrance has always been part of how humans try to shape how they are seen and how they are remembered. In this episode, we will follow the history of perfume across centuries and cultures, exploring how something we cannot see has had such a lasting impact on human life. Sacred smoke, perfume, ritual, and the divine. The history of perfume begins not with fashion or beauty, but with belief. The word perfume comes from the Latin expression perfumum, which means through smoke. This is not accidental. In the ancient world, scent first appeared as something that rose into the air, carrying human intentions toward the divine. One of the earliest civilizations to use perfume in a systematic way was ancient Egypt. Egyptians believed that gods were attracted to pleasant smells, and temples were filled with incense made from resins, woods, and oils. Burning these substances was a daily ritual, not a luxury. Fragrance was a bridge between the human and the sacred. Perfumed oils were also used to prepare the dead for the afterlife. Bodies were anointed with scented substances to protect them and purify them, showing that scent was linked not only to life, but also to death and eternity. Some perfumes, like Kipi, were complex mixtures with dozens of ingredients and were considered sacred formulas rather than simple aromas. This idea was not limited to Egypt. In Mesopotamia, priests burned incense during ceremonies, believing that smoke carried prayers upward. In ancient India, aromatic plants and oils were part of religious rituals described in early texts. In China, incense was used to mark time, purify spaces, and accompany meditation. Across cultures, scent was associated with order, harmony, and connection to forces beyond the visible world. In these early societies, perfume was not meant to make individuals smell attractive. Instead, it was meant to make spaces holy and actions meaningful. Smell was a tool to shape emotion, focus attention, and signal that something important was taking place. What is striking is that scent was trusted even though it could not be seen. Ancient people accepted that something invisible could still be powerful. In a world without modern science, fragrance was experienced as a form of presence, something that filled the air and changed how people felt and behaved. This sacred origin explains why perfume has always carried emotional weight. Even today, certain smells can create feelings of calm, respect, or mystery. Long before perfume entered bottles and markets, it lived in temples, ceremonies, and rituals, as smoke, as oil, and as belief. And that takes us to our next segment. Scent and status, perfume, power, and social hierarchy. Smell began to separate people, not spiritually, but socially. In many ancient societies, perfume became a clear sign of status and privilege. Pleasant scents were not easy to obtain. They required rare ingredients, long-distance trade, and skilled preparation. Because of this, only certain people could afford to smell good, and that difference mattered. In ancient Greece, perfumed oils were used after bathing and during special occasions, especially among the wealthy. Athletes, nobles, and philosophers used scent not only for hygiene, but as a symbol of refinement and self-control. However, there were also debates about excess. Some Greek thinkers believed that heavy perfume used showed moral weakness or luxury taken too far. The Romans pushed perfume culture even further. As the Roman Empire expanded, it gained access to spices, flowers, and resins from across Europe, Africa, and Asia. Perfume became common in public baths, private homes, clothing, furniture, and even animals. Roman elites believed that a powerful empire should also smell powerful. At the same time, perfume helped mark social boundaries. Enslaved people and lower classes often worked with strong smells, leather, metal, animals, while elites surrounded themselves with fragrance. Smell became a way to express order. Clean versus dirty, refined versus common, powerful versus powerless. After the fall of Rome, perfume did not disappear, but its meaning changed. In medieval Europe, strong scents were often linked to health rather than pleasure. People believed that bad smells caused disease, so perfumes and herbs were used to protect the body. At the same time, the church remained cautious. Too much attention to perfume could be seen as vanity or sin. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, perfume culture continued to grow. Advances in distillation and chemistry allowed for more precise extraction of scents. Perfume was connected to cleanliness, hospitality, and daily life. And knowledge from this period would rather influence Europe. Across these centuries, perfume carried a double message. It could represent care and refinement, but also power and exclusion. Who was allowed to smell pleasant and how depended on class, gender, religion, and wealth. By the end of this period, one thing was clear. Scent was no longer only sacred. It had become social language, quietly communicating who someone was, where they belonged, and how they wanted to be perceived. From magic to method, alchemy, distillation, and the science of scent. For a long time, perfume lived somewhere between magic and mystery. People knew that scents could calm, excite, protect, or heal, but they did not fully understand how smells were created or preserved. That began to change when perfume entered the world of science and experimentation. One of the most important developments in the history of perfume was distillation, a process that allows liquids to be separated and purified using heat and condensation. This technique made it possible to extract scent from flowers, plants, and resins more precisely and consistently than ever before. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars and alchemists made major advances in chemistry that would later shape perfume making in Europe. Figures such as Avicenna, Ibn Sina, improved distillation methods, and are often credited with refining the process of extracting essential oils, especially from roses. This was a turning point. Scent could now be captured, stored, and reproduced more reliably. Perfume slowly moved away from being a sacred substance created by ritual and became a crafted product, made through knowledge and technique. Alchemy played a key role in this transition. Alchemists were interested in transformation, turning one substance into another, and perfume fit perfectly into this way of thinking. Creating fragrance was seen as both a scientific task and a philosophical one. As this knowledge reached medieval and Renaissance Europe, perfume making became more systematic. Alcohol began to replace oil as a base, creating lighter, longer lasting scents. One famous example is Hungary water, here in our picture on the lower right corner. A perfume made in the 14th century and often described as one of the first modern fragrances. It combined scent with ideas of health, youth, and renewal. This shift changed how people understood perfume. It was no longer only about pleasing the gods or signaling status. It became about control, measuring ingredients, repeating formulas, and improving results. Perfume makers began to record recipes and techniques, passing knowledge from one generation to the next. At the same time, perfume remained connected to emotion and imagination. Even as science explained how scents were made, it could not fully explain why certain smells moved people so deeply. Perfume stood at the meeting point of reason and feeling, a product of both the laboratory and the senses. By the end of this period, perfume had entered a new phase. It was no longer invisible magic alone. It was becoming an art supported by science, preparing the way for modern perfumery and the global fragrance industry that would follow. And that takes us to our next segment, From Craft to Luxury, France, Fashion, and the Modern Perfume Industry. As perfume making became more precise and scientific, it also became something else, an industry built around style, identity, and desire. This transformation happened most clearly in France, where perfume moved from small workshops into the world of fashion and luxury. One place played a key role in this change, Grasse. I have no idea of how to pronounce this. Here in the picture, a town in southern France, originally known for leather production. Grasse began using perfume to cover the unpleasant smells of tanned leather. Over time, the region's climate proved ideal for growing flowers such as jasmine, rose, lavender, and orange blossom. What started as a practical solution slowly became a center of excellence. By the 17th and 18th centuries, France had become the heart of European perfumery. At the royal court, especially under Louis XIV, fragrance was everywhere. The Palace of Versailles was famously scented, partially because hygiene standards were limited and perfume helped mask odors. Wearing perfume became a sign of refinement, taste, and closeness to power. During the 19th century, perfume changed again. Advances in chemistry made it possible to create synthetic ingredients, allowing perfumers to design new scents that did not exist in nature. This innovation expanded creativity and made perfumes more stable and widely available. At the same time, perfume became closely linked to fashion houses. Designers understood that scent could express personality in the same way as clothing. In the early 20th century, brands like Chanel changed perfumery forever. Chanel number 5, here in our picture, launched in 1921, was not just a fragrance. It was an idea, modern, abstract, and connected to a lifestyle rather than a single flower. From this moment on, perfume was no longer only about how something or someone smelled. It was about who they were or who they wanted to be. Bottles became symbols. Advertising told stories. Fragrance turned into an invisible accessory that completed an identity. What is important here is that perfume did not lose its emotional power when it became commercial. Instead, it learned to speak a new language, the language of branding, aspiration, and modern self-expression. By the time perfume entered department stores and global markets, it carried centuries of history with it. Ritual, science, status, and memory, all captured inside a small bottle. And here we go with the picture of a very famous movie, Memory in the Air. Why scent is so powerful. Of all the human senses, smell is the most closely connected to memory and emotion. A sound can fade, an image can blur, but a scent can suddenly bring back a moment from years ago with surprising strength. This unique power explains why perfume has always meant more than decoration. Scientists now understand that smell works differently from the other senses. When we smell something, the information goes directly to areas of the brain linked to memory and emotion, such as the amygdala and the hippocampus. This direct connection helps explain why scents often feel personal, emotional, and even intimate. Long before modern neuroscience, people sensed this connection intuitively. In many cultures, fragrance was used during important moments: birth, love, illness, and death. Because scent helped mark these experiences emotionally, smell became a way to anchor memory. This deep power of scent has also inspired writers and artists. One of the most famous examples is Patrick Süskind's novel, Perfume, The Story of a Murderer, published in 1985. The book tells the story of a man with an extraordinary sense of smell who experiences the world almost entirely through scent. For him, smells are stronger than words, images, or emotions. In the novel, perfume becomes a symbol of control, identity, and obsession. Süskind shows how scent can influence how people feel, how they behave, and even how they judge others, often without realizing it. The story is fictional and extreme, but it highlights a real truth. Humans are deeply affected by smell, even when they believe they are acting rationally. Literature had already explored this idea earlier. In the work of Marcel Proust, a simple smell and taste opened the door to a flood of memories. Together, these literary examples show that scent is not only a chemical sensation, it is a powerful emotional trigger. Modern perfume creators understand this very well. They do not only design pleasant aromas, they design experiences. Perfumes are described as warm, clean, mysterious, comforting, or dangerous. Not because scent has emotions, but because it awakens them. In everyday life, people use perfume to shape how they feel and how they are remembered. A fragrance can become part of someone's identity even if they never talk about it. In this sense, perfume is not only something we wear, it is something we carry, quietly connecting memory, desire, and imagination. Perfume today: beauty, identity, and the cost to the planet. In the modern world, perfume is no longer rare or sacred. It is produced on a massive scale, sold globally, and renewed every season. This has made fragrance more accessible than ever, but it has also created serious environmental challenges. Many traditional perfume ingredients come from plants, flowers, woods, and resins that require large amounts of land, water, and labor. Some materials, such as sandalwood or certain types of musk, have been historically over-harvested, leading to deforestation, species loss, and ecological damage. In the past, these costs were invisible to consumers. To reduce pressure on nature, the perfume industry increasingly turned to synthetic ingredients. These laboratory-created molecules allow perfumers to reproduce scents without using rare natural resources. In theory, this helps protect ecosystems. However, synthetic fragrances bring their own problems. Some synthetic compounds are derived from petrochemicals, linking perfume production to fossil fuels. Others persist in the environment, entering water systems through washing and wastewater, where they can affect aquatic life. Scientists have found fragrance compounds in rivers, lakes, and even the air, raising concerns about long-term exposure and pollution. Packaging adds another layer to the problem. Perfume bottles are often designed as luxury objects. Thick glass, plastic components, metal sprays, and decorative boxes. While visually appealing, many of these materials are difficult to recycle. The environmental cost of packaging can sometimes be greater than the fragrance itself. Marketing also plays a role. The perfume industry depends on constant novelty, new launches, limited editions, and seasonal trends. This encourages overproduction and overconsumption, turning something once associated with ritual and care into a fast-moving product. In response, some perfume makers are beginning to rethink their practices. There is growing interest in sustainable sourcing, refillable bottles, biodegradable ingredients, and transparent supply chains. Niche and independent brands often lead these efforts, emphasizing quality, longevity, and responsibility over volume. Consumers are also changing. More people now ask where ingredients come from, how products are made, and what happens after they are used. In this sense, perfume is becoming part of a larger conversation about how we balance pleasure, identity, and environmental responsibility. Perfume today stands at a crossroad. It can continue as a symbol of excess and consumption, or it can reconnect with its older values, intention, meaning, and respect for the world that produces its scents. And that takes us to our next segment: smell, stereotypes, and cultural perception. Despite Europe's long and influential history with perfume, there is a strange and persistent idea that Europeans, especially the French, smell bad. This belief appears often in jokes, travel stories, and popular culture. But where does it really come from? The short answer is culture, not reality. Smell is not judged the same way everywhere. What one society considers clean or pleasant, another may find strange or even unpleasant. In many European cultures, perfume is used lightly and strong artificial fragrances are sometimes avoided in public spaces. In other parts of the world, stronger scents are common and expected. When these expectations meet, misunderstanding can happen. History also plays a role. In medieval and early modern Europe, regular bathing was difficult, but this was true in many regions of the world at the time. Limited access to water, religious beliefs, and medical ideas shaped hygiene habits everywhere, not just in Europe. Over time, writers and travelers turned these historical realities into exaggerated stories. National rivalry made things worse. During periods of political and cultural competition, stereotypes became tools. Europeans mocked each other's habits, including smell, food, and clothing. These ideas spread through literature and later through media, becoming simplified and repeated long after the original context disappeared. There is also an important distinction between perfume and hygiene. Historically, perfume was not invented because people refused to wash. It developed as part of ritual, status, medicine, and identity. Using perfume did not mean ignoring cleanliness. It meant responding to the limits of the time. Today, hygiene standards across Europe are comparable to those in other developed regions. Daily bathing, deodorant use, and personal care are normal. The idea that Europeans smell bad today survives mainly as a cultural myth, not a fact. This stereotype reveals something deeper. Smell is not only physical, it is social. We judge others' scents through our own cultural filters. What feels normal to one person can feel wrong to another, even when no objective difference exists. In this way, perfume history helps us understand something important. Smell is not just about the body. It is about identity, belonging, and perception. And sometimes what we think we smell says more about us than about others. And that takes us to our closing reflection. What we cannot see and what we must care for. When we step back and look at the long history of perfume, one thing becomes clear. Fragrance has always reflected how humans relate to the world around them. It began with ritual, smoke rising in temples, oils prepared with care, scents offered to gods and spirits. In these moments, perfume was not consumed quickly or without thought. It was used slowly, respectfully, and with intention. Nature was not separate from belief, it was part of it. Later, perfume became a sign of power and status. Rare ingredients traveled across continents, collected through trade and empire. Fragrance showed who had access to resources and who did not. Even then, scent depended on the natural world, on flowers, woods, resins, and animals, often taken without concern for long-term balance. With the rise of science, humans learned how to extract, reproduce, and control scent. This knowledge was impressive and creative. It allowed perfume to become more stable, more accessible, and more varied. But it also created distance. Scents no longer needed living landscapes in the same way. Nature became something to imitate, replace, or redesign. And yet, perfume never lost its connection to memory. A fragrance could still carry childhood, love, loss, or comfort. Even today, one smell can bring back an entire life moment. This emotional power reminds us that perfume is not just chemistry, it is experience. Now, in the present, perfume stands at a turning point. We use fragrance to express identity, who we are, how we feel, how we wish to be seen. But the choices behind perfume are no longer invisible. We are becoming more aware of where ingredients come from or how they are produced and what they leave behind in the air, water, and soil. This awareness asks an important question. Can something designed to bring pleasure also carry responsibility? Sustainability invites perfume to slow down again, to value fewer products, better sourcing, longer use, and deeper meaning. It asks the industry and consumers to remember that scent begins in the world we share, not only in laboratories or bottles. In this way, the history of perfume comes full circle. From sacred smoke to modern fragrance, it reminds us that what we breathe connects us to nature, to culture, and to each other. Perfume teaches us that the invisible matters. And today, it also reminds us that care matters for memory, for identity, and for the planet that gives us every scent we have ever loved. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on Tune In and Speak Up, the podcast from Universidad Militar Nueva Granada. I hope you enjoyed our journey on the history of perfume and discovered how even the most ordinary things can carry deep cultural meaning. If this episode helped you see everyday life a little differently or helped you connect language with history and culture in a new way, then this episode has done exactly what it was meant to do. Learning English is not only about grammar or vocabulary. It is also about understanding how people live, think, and express values through simple actions. This season, we will continue exploring unusual yet meaningful topics that reveal the strong connection between language, history, and daily experience. Each episode is designed to help you improve your listening skills, expand your vocabulary, and develop a deeper awareness of how culture shapes communication. If you found today's episode useful or interesting, feel free to share it with your classmates, friends, or fellow English learners. Learning becomes stronger when it is shared, discussed, and experienced together. And if you'd like to share your thoughts, reflections, or feedback, we would truly love to hear from you. Your ideas help us grow, and your voice helps shape future episodes. This podcast exists for learners like you, curious, thoughtful and committed to improving step by step. We'll be back next week with another topic that may surprise you, make you reflect, or inspire new conversations in English. Until then, keep listening, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep exploring the world through language. And as always, keep speaking up. Until next time, thank you very much. Leito, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Lo que ocurre en la universidad, los acontecimientos y sus protagonistas están en UMNG Radio.